So anyway, so this talk, what I'm going to talk about right now is I just came back from shooting the first essentially theatrical feature film on exclusively Sony Alpha with Leica lenses, and it went really, really well, and I'm really excited to tell you guys about it. So I mean, literally yesterday was our last day of production. So this is all very fresh, very new. And so the film that we were just shooting is called 3 Days, the working title is 3 Days in August. And here, I'll take the lens cap off because the glass in this lens is so impressive. So at any rate, we're down in Mineral Wells, Texas, and shooting this film, which will be premiering next April at the Dallas International Film Festival, and then it goes into a limited theatrical release thereafter. We shot it on the A7R2. And there are numerous reasons that we shot it on the A7R2 that I'll get into very shortly. And we did shoot it in 4K, which is really, to me, where everything is going and where everything, you know, kind of the workflow that I want to be. But like I was saying, though, my background is as a photographer, fashion, beauty, celebrity. So I just loaded up before, you know, just to top off my talk, just a bunch of shots that I did recently with my new A7R2, and you know, just to kind of convey like my sensibility, the way I see, you know, because I love photographing people. The quality that I'm getting with this camera as a still camera is extraordinary. And so as a still camera, it's amazing. And what I've been finding, like we were down in Dallas just recently with the Post House talking about, you know, the fact that we were going to be doing this film on the A7R2, and the editors were like, you're going to be doing this on what camera? And then when they started getting the files in, they were amazed. So anyway, like I said, you know, my background is in fashion. I love photographing people. This is kind of where I've been for many, many years. I should just stop here. This photograph was done actually on a cinema camera, on a 4K cinema camera, and I shot it specifically for a magazine, specifically to pull the stills out and publish in the magazine. So that was kind of a really cool new workflow where people are starting to shoot in 4K, and for magazines, they'll shoot the motion content for a commercial or whatever. They'll be able to pull out files that are high resolution enough that you can publish them. So I also do a lot of celebrity stuff in LA, and you know, that's kind of facilitated my transition into working in motion pictures. And then I think it's important for all of us to have passion projects. And for me, rodeo has been a passion project that I've been working on for many years, and I love it. And actually, I just got an email a couple days ago that Cowboys and Indians magazine is going to be publishing a bunch of my rodeo stuff. So that's pretty cool. It's really cool when you know, you get some recognition for a personal project. So anyway, like I said, though, the reason I'm here today is because we were just shooting a feature film, a theatrical feature, on this camera right here. And it's actually kind of heavy, so I'm going to put it down. And maybe I'll move this closer so I can always see it. Yeah. And anyway, so here we are on set. You can see we have you know, a full-on crew, and this is essentially the rig that we were working with. So this is this camera, these lenses. So we had this A7R2, as you can see. We had a bunch of support gear. We had 2 Adamus decks. We had a Shogun recording external from the camera into 4K, 222 ProRes HQ, so really high bitrate ProRes. We had another Adamus Ninja Assassin as the monitor for the first AC to pull focus. On this one, you can see we actually have a wireless, we had actually, this is I think for the wireless focus, a wireless follow focus, so you could have the first AC working wirelessly. And anyway, you can see what we're doing is we're exporting for the highest quality file. We're going to go out 422 in the highest color space into the Shoguns. And one of the things that I was really happy about on set during production was that the cameras and the Shoguns were all very reliable. We had no downtime for any kind of technical issues, which was a big deal. So like I said, you can see on the arrow here, HDMI out, 4K, uncompressed 422, going into the Shogun. Let's go back on that one, Tom. It was a really looking at the post, and I'm going to show you at the end of my talk, I'm going to show you a clip from the film, rendered out from the files from the cameras. And you'll see how the quality is amazing. And the files are quite big, though. We were working in, many gigabytes per day. So we were recording to SSD solid-state drives, and we're talking about 240 gig drives, 480 gig drives, that through USB, we're talking about maybe a 4-hour download time. So I learned a few months ago from a digital tech that I worked with that you can take these SATA drives, break open your computer, plug the SATA drive right in, plug your SSD drive right into the SATA port, and we went from a 4-hour download to a 17-minute download. Or 27 minutes for about 200 gigs, 250 gigs. So it was an incredible speed increase for our workflow. So here we have a Mac tower broken open, and we were plugging in the drive right into the tower, and we were saving about 3.5 hours of download time. So that's pretty cool. So these cameras, you can't really shoot them. You can, theoretically, but to just go up on set with like this, it would be a little bit difficult to really have it work the way you would want it to work for shooting a feature. So we had a lot of support gear from various vendors that was, helping us make the workflow and working the camera on set better. So for example, we had O'Connor tripods with really fantastic fluid heads, and we had the follow focus was O'Connor, which goes right into the gears on the lenses, so you can mark your focus like the guy is doing on the vertical. And we had matte boxes where you can put in all kinds of filtration. So, there was a lot of support gear to make the cameras function as we wanted on set. We had, really great lights from light panels. To make these lenses work on, E-mount we already know already is fantastic for lens flexibility. You can put pretty much any lens out there, there's an adapter for it, and you can put your lens on there. We had wooden camera PL mount adapters to put this big lens on our E-mount camera. And another thing, you're thinking about, the batteries in the camera, they're great. I can shoot a lot. I can get a lot of shots, and I can pretty much get an hour of video out of one of these batteries. But when we're on set, we're powering everything off of a big V-mount battery, and the wooden camera makes a really great solution for that. And you can see here, we had Anton Bauer batteries that will power this camera. Let's say if I hooked one of these V-mount batteries up to this camera, it'll power this camera for 16 hours of shooting. So with all the Shoguns on there, everything was powered, the whole rig, all the Shogun, the Ninja Assassin, everything was powered by that big battery, and we were getting still between 5 and 6 hours of power for that, which was really good. And we had a rig, a B-Works rig that was allowing us to get some gyro stabilization and everything like that. So let's talk about real quick, why did we go to the A7R2? Because the technology in these cameras is now really trickling down, and the quality that we're getting is fabulous. So the A7R2, the A7S in the past, these cameras have already been used as B cameras for cinema cameras like this. For example, Paranormal Activity 5, which is coming out now, I think this week, Friday, they used for some low light level scenes, A7S. So, the A7 series cameras have been utilized in a lot of motion picture projects already. But we wanted to shoot 4K, and the A7R2, and we had an A7S on set too. They're optimized for 4K. And what's really special about the A7R2, and why it works so well with these lenses and what we were planning for this project, is that when you go into your crop mode, APS-C or Super 35, you get direct pixel readout, which gives you the highest quality file out of that camera. So if you want the highest quality video file in the A7R2, you're going to go to direct pixel readout. What's really cool about the A7S II and the A7S before it is that you get direct pixel readout full frame. So, these are game changers for us on set. So, in the A7S, you're getting full frame direct pixel readout, which is really, really special. So like I said, full frame only for the A7S. And this is the A7S built up on our set, A7S II, I should be more specific. And we shot with that on these lenses, 75 millimeters and above, cover a full frame sensor, and the files are beautiful. And so actually, to take that a little bit further, there are a lot of manufacturers now that are making cinema lenses that are dedicated to full frame sensors that will cover full frame through their different lens length lineup. So you have the Zeiss, you have the Rodenstock and the Schneider, or Schneider I should say, and of course we know that with the E-mount you have a lot of compatibility and a lot of flexibility in the kind of lenses that you can put on there, which is great. And like I said, on our set we used the wooden camera lens adapters with the Leica lenses. So the reason we chose Leica is because they're pretty fabulous, but they're sharp, but they gave us like this really creamy look to them. So they really kind of just gave us a beautiful quality to the file. So another thing that we did is if you go into the back of the camera, you can bring up in the menu system different aspect ratios. And we chose a very cinematic wide screen aspect ratio, and I thought I just fixed that, but I guess I didn't. So we chose 235:1, which really accentuates it. It really can create a lot of, here, let's go forward a little bit. And you can see 16:9 is a full frame, 235:1 really kind of brings things down, it widens the frame. And this was an interview that I did of Kristen Bell a while back, and it just kind of shows you, the difference between a full screen and what a 235:1 would look like. And it really can bring things, it can help make things more intimate. It can play with space and how people interact, negative space it can play up. So there's a lot of ways that, and you can see here on the back of the screen of the A7R2, how we were able to bring up markers that allowed us to frame accurately. On the back of the camera and on the Shogun, we were also able to, as here in the menu, select 235, and now you can see on the Shogun also, we were able to select 235, and it allowed us to frame very precisely, which is really cool. Another feature that these cameras have that has trickled down from a lot of the bigger cameras is Zebra, which of course helps us with exposure. And you can see here we were shooting in an S-Log, so we set our Zebra to 95% because we know we have until about 113% into our whites before we start clipping. So we set it at 95, so we know we're still getting detail in these areas. And that's really helpful for us. In S-Log, you want to be pretty precise when you're exposing. Another thing that's really cool is focus peaking. And so you can see here, in this one, you can see like the green outline, the kind of green haze to that, and all the white here, the white. So that's focus peaking. It helps us precisely see where our edges are and where the sharpness is. So sometimes we want it. What's really cool, when I'm shooting stills, I manual focus, but I never use focus peaking because the EVF in this camera is so bright and so sharp that really focus peaking for me is a video-only tool. So, and again, the EVF is really, like I was saying, it's bright, it's sharp, and when I'm shooting stills, like I said, I prefer to manual focus because I'm old school and I've been just doing that forever that way. Something else that's really cool about this camera when you're recording external to a Shogun, like for example, you can see here and here at the arrow that we had a time code going. So time code is really important for editors and for workflow. And because we weren't able to jam sync our 3 cameras together to match, we set them to the time of day. And so what's really cool is that with the Shoguns and the Ninja Assassin, you can set it to record run, so when the time code can run and just keep running all day, but when we hit record on the side of the camera says, oh, we want to record external, boom, and it goes out and it starts recording, so we don't have to do double, it saves work. It records automatically to the Shogun, which is really cool. And I just wanted to point out this lens, because I've been using this lens and I love it. I was running around, I was doing a lot of behind the scenes video and stills also on the film, and this is such a great general lens for running and gunning video. It's the 28-135, it has internal image stabilization. In the past 3 weeks that I was shooting with it, I fell in love with it. So I just needed to put that in there. And again, shooting with that lens in competition with these bodies, I have such great stabilization that I'm rolling video, and it was really fantastic. So let's get into picture profiles really quick. So we were shooting with a flat profile because the sensor in these cameras is so good, but I want to have my maximum dynamic range. I want to have the full 14 stops-ish of dynamic range that's possible with this. So the way I'm going to do that, in the A7S2, they have S-Log3, which is really cool, and it brings the middle gray up to 41%, so I have a bunch of 5, 6 stops above and 7 stops below, and it makes the shadows less noisy, which is really cool. In the A7R2, we had S-Log2, so we shot that plus 2 stops to raise the middle gray. It gives us really nice skin tones and low noise, which is really what we wanted. So let's go, I'm going to talk about dynamic range real quick. Let's show Rider really quick. So this is a trailer that I shot a while back, maybe a little bit over a year ago, but it's a good example of what dynamic range does and what it is, what it means. Because you'll see this was shot on 2 different cameras. The first was by a camera this was from a different camera manufacturer. You'll see that there's a little bit less detail in the highlights and the shadows. The shadows are crunching, they're crushing down a little bit more. There's less detail in the sky. So it's a little bit more contrasty. There's less levels of brightness to darkness. And then it's going to transition forward to the section that I shot on a camera, the Sony F55, one of their cinema cameras. This now, you can see there's a lot of detail in the sky. Now when it goes over here, you see there's a lot of detail, especially here in the darks and the shadows of his outfit. That's what the difference of about 11 to 12 stops versus 14 and change stop dynamic range means. All that detail is a big deal, and that's what we want to be. So we had fun. We went out to the desert outside of Lancaster, California, and shot that, and it was fun. So, but I'm using it because it's such a stark. So what we use on set is what they call lookup tables, or LUTs. And these are, because the flat profile doesn't really look pretty, but it's allowing us to, let's roll forward on one, Tom, on the vertical. Okay, so I think that's right. So because we have that flat profile, we want it to look pretty on set. We want the stream going out to the director and the crew to look pretty. So essentially, you can see S-Log2 here. I'll try to get out of the way. It's kind of flat, and here with the LUT applied, which is really, it's essentially something. Let's go back one on, yeah. You can see how it looks more like it would look in real life. So these are something that we load into the Adamus because we don't have it in the camera. What's really cool though, we're loading it in, that's right. So Tom, let's match right there. So Tom, go back one on vertical. There we go. So it's something, it's essentially a little program, like a little file that we load into the Adamus, and it outputs, it allows us to cover, to apply that color to to the final file. So let's show the film clip. This is actually a shot from the film where you'll see the first 10 seconds in S-Log, and you'll also notice that this is in 16:9. We haven't yet applied the letterbox of the aspect ratio. So,
hey, Dad.
So here it's flat, and you'll see what it becomes. Let's turn the audio.
Hey.
Thanks.
All right, let's play ball.
All right, stand back.
And you can see how dramatic that change is. And now normally we're cropping here and here. So I know when I was shooting this,
Well, you know, close only counts.
when I was shooting all
hand
this,
grenades,
I
right,
was
Bob?
seeing
And machine
that
gun
and
nests
that,
and cluster bombs,
here
doodle
and
bugs
here.
and
But you can see in the camera, that's what
exploding
we're
rats.
looking at.
He was in the Korean War.
Wow, what was that like?
You know, we're back down here.
Picnic.
So the headroom is a lot tighter, the foot room is a lot tighter.
Your turn.
All right, let me see if I can ring its neck.
But you can see, I mean, you know, even in a flare kind of environment, the quality, everything holds tight. This lens, this is this, this is this. So that was all shot with this. So with, you know, having a lens like this really, on a project like that, really makes a difference. Because you can see in a big flare, I was shooting that, and I kept trying to come back from the flare a little bit. But I could see that it was holding and that it was beautiful. So that's a big deal for us to do that. And I was just going to say, now also, one of the cool things about the A7S II is that it has this thing called Gamma Display Assist, which is essentially a built-in LUT in the camera. So you can see here, for example, it's all flat profile, it's desaturated, it's not contrasty, but now we can do that in the camera, which is really cool because it helps us also with exposures again, and it really is a big technical help. Let's show the colorist videos real quick because how you saw on that film clip how that wipe went across what it is, you know, we're doing in the post-production to get to that point. So these are two clips that I shot that it shows you essentially like Photoshop, what's going on here is each level is being applied. It's like different layers in Photoshop, but it's for video. So if you watch here, they're going to pop the guitar, they're going to pop her face. Everything is just kind of being Okay, and now here again, Julianne Hough. Again, you'll see this is all flat. This was on the F65, and all of a sudden you can see all the layers being applied. They're going to pop everything and how everything looks real pretty in the end. It goes from flat to, you know, real pretty. And that's what we end up turning into the client. So, you know, it's kind of like Photoshop for video. It's all just like layers, and we're working with, you know, things like that. You can see down here, like, well, maybe not on this one, but, you know, like we're doing power windows. It's just like Photoshop for video. And so on set, we had a lot of different filters that we were using. We had a lot of ND and black magic and all kinds of stuff with those big matte boxes. We're putting all kinds of filters on the front of the camera to give us the look we want. But what's really cool about the new A7S II for us, again, in the practical world, is that S-Log 3 and S-Log ISO native, it went down from 3200 to 1600. So now it's easier for me to get down to the wide apertures that I want with less ND, as you can see here, which was really a big deal. That was very helpful. So, you know, we shot it in 4K. I think like 4K is really where everything is going, and 4K is now. It's all happening.